Hello, this is Zachary Hogan from startwithtrading.com, and this is the live weekly Forex trading outlook here for the last week of February the 26th all the way to March 3rd, 2017. So as always, a standard risk disclaimer before we begin, and please keep in mind you can see a full extended version of this on the official Start With Trading website. Now we are going to continue off like we did last week and just take a look at how some of our speculation played out. We're going to start by taking a look at Forex Factory as well, just to consider what could potentially influence the currency pairs we're going to be looking at this week. And to start, just doing a quick glance, it does seem like a pretty tame week. On Sunday, we don't really have much of anything going on. We have a monthly core durable goods orders. This is an indicator of production for the US dollar at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. And moving forward, Tuesday, we have some US dollar GDP news coming out, followed by consumer confidence here, and ending the evening off with the Australian dollars GDP quarterly release. Looking at Wednesday, March 1st, now I do believe that the Canadian dollar here is going to have quite a lot of movement. The reason I say this is because they're releasing their overnight interest rates. The Bank of Canada is making a statement on that, and they are also going to have this ISM manufacturing PMI, which is basically a leading indicator of economic health for the US dollar, and that's all coming out at the same time. So we will be looking at the US dollar Canadian. We also do have the crude oil inventories, and of course in the morning we do have on the British pound this manufacturing PMI release. So March 1st, it'll be going into a new month, printing a new monthly candle. So just really we want to pay attention to how it closes for February, where our bias is at, and of course update accordingly. Moving forward to Thursday, we've got this construction PMI release on the British pound at 4:30 a.m. followed by unemployment claims and the GDP monthly report for the CAD. And to end off the week on Friday, we do have a services PMI on the GBP, followed by the ISM non-manufacturing PMI, and then a bunch of speeches just to go right into the afternoon, right up to market close, potentially. So we do have Yellen speaking, we have a couple other FOMC members speaking, and it is on a Friday, so we're just going to really have to pay attention to what happens, see how the market and the overall trend, how that develops throughout this week. And with that being said, let's hop off of Forex Factory and get into some charting. So last week we were looking for bearish price confirmation on the US dollar Canadian at the 1.15 level. You can see we have this price level drawn out here. So we did get a push a little bit higher up into the 132 area, but we did get that confirmation we are looking for, the continued bearish movement. And our overall bias on the US dollar Canadian, at least for myself, it is still to the downside. For this last week in February, I have high anticipation that we will see price achieve my weekly target down at 1.295. However, we really need to keep in mind the 1.312 area. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to update our price levels accordingly. Watch for bearish confirmation at the 1.312 level, and we'll go ahead, we'll add one more new price line. Just quickly make it look nice. Weekly target down at 1.295. So you can clearly see there what we're looking for. Of course, we do need to pay attention to what happens at this 1.3 psychological zone. It's also the top of our zone that we have drawn up, but I do have that bearish bias. I really am anticipating that movement to the downside to continue, but it wouldn't surprise me if we do get a little bit of bullish movement to begin the week, and we're just going to really have to see how this trade develops. Now, moving over to the US dollar yen, we also were looking for bearish price confirmation last week because the overall bias is to the downside. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to clean this chart up a little bit, delete all of these little arrows here, rectangles, because we don't need them. Now, with the US dollar yen in mind, in my opinion, it's moving very, very beautifully. The reason why I say this is because we had quite a lot of bearish movement to end off the week. So with that in mind, what could we be anticipating here to start off this last week of February? With this pair in mind, I do have a weekly price target down at the 111.3, so I'll just go ahead, I'll add that on here real quickly. If you guys know me, I like to be very transparent in my analysis, and I don't touch these charts unless I'm doing it here on the videos. So with that in mind, let me just go ahead, weekly target 11.3. Because like I was saying, I don't touch these charts because I really just like for you guys to see my thought process, see my analysis, see what I'm looking at, and hopefully in some way it helps you form your own bias based on the speculation that you've been able to do, whatever your trading strategy may be. Make sure that you do subscribe to the channel. We put these videos out weekly, and it's overall much appreciated for all of the feedback that I've been receiving lately after the first couple of weeks of doing these weekly outlooks. So just to kind of summarize what I'm looking for on the US dollar yen in this last week of February: continued bearish bias, looking for the price to achieve that target down at 111.3, but I would be looking for a potential retest of this whole 20 pip zone up at the 112.600 up to the 112.800 area. So I'll just put a nice little rectangle just so that it's easy for you to visualize here. I'll just do it like this because it's a little bit easier rather than having to draw it exactly out. We'll extend that into the future. So I wouldn't be surprised to see price come back up, retest this whole zone, maybe even wick up into the 113 psychological area, but still overall very bearish at the moment on the US dollar yen. And the one thing that I will be looking for is to see if we get any bullish rejection once we start to enter this whole 111.5 zone, just 20 pips above the weekly target, because it is a very strong psychological level. We've had a lot of, confluence that I'm looking at here. So just really pay attention if you are going to be trading the US dollar yen this week. Now, moving over to the Aussie US dollar, this pair has been trading absolutely beautifully. Still bullish on this pair. What I'm going to do real quickly is just delete lines, because in our last video we were just basically drawing out what I thought could happen. Of course, we did achieve our target that we are looking up at the 77.2 level, but we had a lot of bearish movement to end off the week. So with the AUDUSD in mind, I am still bullish on the asset. I'm still considering to see what happens up at that 0.77200 zone, but with that in mind, what could I be anticipating for this week? It would not surprise me to see a potential retest down here at this whole 76.4 zone. So I'll put a price level. Be looking for bullish confirmation at the 76400, and of course we could always wick beyond that, we could close beyond that, and we just have to adapt, of course. But my weekly price target here, I'm looking for the AUDUSD to achieve this 0.77500 level. It's the price level of interest. That's also noted in the last couple of videos, and we just really have to pay attention to if there is any bearish confirmations that we get. But at this time, still very, very bullish. Moving forward now onto the British pound US dollar. Last week, we had a bullish outlook on that. We were looking for any potential confirmations that we would get off of our supply zone down here at 124. So basically, everything that happened after this big bearish close for the week, we opened up on Sunday. We did have about a 70 pip movement to the upside, immediately followed by a retest back down to this 1.24. The exact low is literally 2 pips above the zone. So, what could we be anticipating moving forward after this big bearish close that we had for Friday? I am still bullish here on the British pound US dollar. I'm considering a target up at 1.253. So I'll just go ahead, I'll put my price level, bullish target 1.253, just so you can kind of have an idea of where I'm looking at for a first level to potentially see if we get any bearish signals. But I'm still looking for that bullish movement. Going to be seeing what happens if we get up here to this whole 1.26 level. It's a very psychological zone, and of course still looking for that continued bullish movement up to our area at 1.27. So we really just need to keep in mind what could happen. The weekly target is all the way up here at the bottom of the zone, but this is where we're going to be checking out for any bearish confirmation, because we did have a lot of rejection here. It wouldn't surprise me if we come back down, start trading in this whole 1.235 to 1.24 range for a little bit, but we just have to see. And let's move forward on to the NZDUSD. Now, with this pair in mind, I'm still bullish at this time. The reason being is because I didn't get enough confirmation to want to adapt my bias with how last week reacted. Basically, we were looking for that bullish confirmation down at the 0.715 zone. We could definitely still see bearish movement from where we are right now into this whole area, even to the 717 zone, but I'm still looking for upside movement. My weekly target is up here at the 7300 level. I'll just put a price level there just to easily reference. Weekly target right at the 7300. It's a psychological zone. We'll just need to pay attention to this, and of course, with this pair in mind, as we approach the weekly target, I would really be wanting to just see how price reacts here at this whole 72700 level, because there has been a lot of trading in that whole range. So we're just going to really have to see here, but overall outlook on the NZDUSD still bullish at this moment. So check out the Euro US dollar really quickly. And as I was mentioning in the previous videos, this is a pair that I don't really trade all that often. Last week we were looking for that bullish price confirmation. We are considering down at the 1.057 zone. However, we did go way beyond that here. on the Monday, and we started off the week very, very bearish. We retested this 1.05 psychological zone one more time, and we still had a lot of bearish interest once we got back up to this 106 level. So, for this week, what I'm anticipating, I have set the weekly target up at 1.07. So I'll go ahead, I'll put a price level there just really quickly again so that we can reference it. Weekly target. However, with this, we really just have to pay attention. We need to see what happens if price does come back down and start trading below or even at this 1.05 zone one more time, because if that does happen, I would not be surprised if we get even lower movement down towards the bear price level of interest that we have down there. I am just going to quickly clean up these trend lines here. So just hold on for one moment. And this week, I do also feel like analyzing gold. On TD Ameritrade's Thinkorswim, the symbol is /GC. You may be trading it as XAUUSD on your MetaTrader 4 broker, depending on, how they have it set up. And gold, it is going to be a very simple but fresh analysis. So what am I looking for here on gold? As you can see, we've had a very bullish last couple of weeks, and with that in mind, I still see the potential for price to go even higher. My directional bias on gold is to the upside. My weekly target here, I'm going to just go ahead, I'll put a price line. It's at 1280. Just update that accordingly. My weekly target is up there at the 1280 level. Now, with gold in mind, you need to keep in mind this commodity is fairly volatile. So what could I be looking for? Now, I do see potential for price to come back down to the 1.235 zone approximately, and this is where we could be looking for any bullish confirmation in the event we get movement to the downside at all. So I'll show you why. I'll put up a little bit more confluence. I'll just draw my zones after adding these levels. But as for where we could see some potential bearish rejection, it's just below our weekly target here at the 1272 level, and we just need to see what happens if we get to this price. If we do experience that bearish confirmation, we may not achieve the weekly target. But if we take a look here at the weekly, like I was saying, the last couple of weeks, basically all of 2016, it's been very, very bullish. Even taking a look at the monthly, we're having quite a strong candle. So it would not surprise me to see us push up to at least right here where this month opened last November. And we're really just going to have to see what goes on with gold. Keep in mind, with the analysis that I'm sharing here in these weekly outlooks, it is considering mainly the daily, weekly, and monthly charts. So I'm not necessarily doing intraday analysis for you. If that is something you're interested, feel free to contact me on social media. Reach out to me through email or just get in contact with me, and we can definitely discuss, setting you up with my style and helping formulate that into your strategy. Now, keep in mind, staying up to date with the trend and really focusing in on the intraday basis can be challenging without the right mentorship. So it's a natural part of the process to accept that element of risk trading has. And with gold, I mean, like I said, this is just a very simple analysis, but as you train your eyes, you can clearly see we have this nice uptrend that's been very, very solid. We do have a lot of confluence that we are approaching right now, and we do have a gap right here with this huge bullish wick. This day here where all of this trading happened, just imagine how many orders are trapped within this whole candle. We traded at a high of 1338.3 and a low of 1268.1. So just really quickly, I'll put on my trend line here just to get a better idea. That's about $70 roughly of price change in that one day. And we're just going to have to pay attention if gold is something you trade. It is a commodity, one of the only ones at this moment that I do like to check out quite frequently. And with that being said, everybody, I definitely do appreciate you stopping in and checking out this video. So make sure that you like, if this helped you in any way, comment, let me know what assets you're looking at. Let me know if your bias is in line with mine. And of course, be certain to subscribe and share this video so that you can get first access to all of the content that we're putting out. Much appreciation to you. You are a wise and powerful trader with complete confidence, if that's what you believe. This is Zachary, and I want to wish you safe and happy trading.